Hello, my name is Agnieszka Mirgorodska, founder and commissioner of the Riga Biennial of Contemporary Art, or RIBOCA, and it is my biggest pleasure to be introducing a program of talks and conversations. So Riga Biennial of Contemporary Art has been launched in 2016 as a platform and initiative of its commissioning body, Riga Biennial Foundation. And its major ambition has been to establish a platform for artists to engage with the landscape and contexts of Baltic region, and to have a dialogue with the city of Riga. It's slightly hidden Nordic city with multiple hidden narratives here. Riga Biennial Foundation focuses on knowledge and education, local engagement, and is very dedicated to working closely with artists and providing them with all the possible conditions to realize their work. For the second edition of the Riga Biennial of Contemporary Art, we have had the pleasure to work with Rebecca Lamash-Vadel, curator, that has brought with her amazing, surprising visions and worldviews that will be unraveled in the exhibition of RIBOCA 2. Also, couldn't have wished for more thoughtful and knowledgeable curator of public programs, Sophia Lemus, who together with Rebecca has brought together a wonderful lineup of speakers. We were caught off guard, of course, by recent coronavirus situation at the time when our exhibition was almost in the build-up phase. And of course, we had to very drastically rethink our plans for the exhibition. So we did spend sleepless nights and multiple days brainstorming all together on what can be done. And finally, we reached a decision to shoot a film of an exhibition that has never happened. We will also, if the circumstances permit, open the film shot set where the film will be shot for the wider audience in September. So with no more further to say, I will pass it on to Rebecca and Sophia to lead us through their thinking process and go in much more depth and detail.
It is indeed a very special moment that we are now in, which is what could be described as a floating moment or a suspended time between a world that we see falling in front of us and the nascent one that is about to come, and which we can hopefully try to build together in a very special and new ways. The show itself, and suddenly it all blossoms, was precisely about collapses, which is a very special situation when the projections and speculation suddenly meet the reality of our everyday life. Because the idea of the show initially and still today was about thinking of overframe in terms of living, in terms of sensing, in terms of paying attention, in terms of caring about what surrounds us, and thus rethinking the way we inhabit the world. The feeling behind this project was very much inspired by this total terror of endings and this very collapsing atmosphere that we were living in, and instead of these notions, think more about transformations, mutations, developments. So not think about an abrupt rupture, but rather about how can we imagine our presences are as entangled and as like complex presences amongst a bigger network. So the project was indeed in this regard to acknowledge the the incredible city of Riga, its inhabitants, and the reality of this country, which many times has been going through a rebirth, like because of its very complex history. And inspired by this, the idea was that we would, for a few months, settle in district André Salam, which is a very Tarkovsky-like setting, which is encompassing like the ruins of Soviet times, the dreams of industrial systems, but also like the contemporary situation of new companies and services. Of course, the plans had to be completely reshuffled because now the world and the big poker game that is happening is reshuffling completely our cards, and we had to come up with many creative solutions and lots of resilience towards the initial project, which is now transformed into a movie that will be shot in September for 3 weeks. And we intend to transform all of this project into a project that speaks about the idea of thresholds and this very special moment where we're suspended somewhere between a world that we might despise for what it was bringing together out of like extractive and predatory and exclusive situations, and what kind of new world we might want to call for, and what the artist could also open up as perspective, a world that we wish more inclusive, we wish more entangled, we wish more complex, and a world that we welcome in all of its richness and uncertainties. Thank God, thinkers are here to help us, and I think like we are very busy at the moment curing bodies. I guess that what we need is also people curing our spirits, and I'm very thankful and very happy that Sofia Lemos here for weeks now has been working on putting together this beautiful program that is bringing together theoreticians, thinkers, sensitivities who've been crucial to develop the initial project of the exhibition, and whose words are permanent inspiration to develop eventually these new sensitivities and these new ways of being present that we're thinking of for this project. So I'm very happy now to listen to Sofia and hear about the beautiful talks and words, the glossary of words that all of this project has been inspired by.
Thanks, Rebecca. Thanks, Agnia. So essentially what we had initially envisioned as a 21-week long public program that involved several activities, from sort of evening talks with international speakers and different educational activities as well throughout the week. It's sort of combined and condensed into an online series of talks and conversations that really comes as a form of celebrating confluence and togetherness out of what Rebecca already mentioned, being the context and realities of Riga and the Baltic countries. This idea of transformation, this idea of rebirth, and where sensitivities and ideologies are variously assembled and intertwined, is really what the program is about. So initially we conceived it as a space for dwelling in the imagination, and we decided to manifest the series as a glossary. So each week corresponding to a different word that was really sort of mapping the entangled rhythms of the exhibition, the public programs, the educational activities, with a sort of poetic invention. And this glossary, what it does is that it also is a form of acknowledgement of the more than human connections and legacies of inequities that are at the core of being human today. What we try to do here with the end of A World is to imagine how life can be imagined from and lived from different world-making perspectives. So we decided to bring together outstanding thinkers, researchers, writers from various fields to share their views. They include various disciplines, from physics to anthropology to biology to poetry. And what these thinkers are coming at really is that there is no I in human. There's a continuum of togetherness. There is an ever-emerging we that is neither absolute nor is it universal as modern thought would have it. So in different ways, what these authors do is to undo the legacies of industrial modernity, that the venue that Rebecca selected for the biennial was really sort of inspiring in this way. So these authors are undoing these legacies that depended on colonial empires, they depended on regimes of extraction, they depended on the devaluation of animal and plant species and human lives to produce global capital. So we're standing at this threshold, and we're standing at this moment of rebirth, of reconsidering, of re-engaging, and sort of resensing our surroundings. And what we find is that our lives are really entangled with each other and with those of other species. So the series really explores this question of livability in the planet. It really sort of looks at multiple time frames for assembling these worlds. And instead of building them single-handedly and alone, it tries to build them through entanglements and blossoms. And one of the questions that we asked speakers was exactly what Rebecca just referred to as what we might propose and activate as worlds to come. For example, one of our speakers, Jack Alberstam, who will be addressing wildness, he's going to be speaking about losing control, escaping control, to the sense, referring to the sense of being lost, to the standing outside of a system of knowing, and really to sort of the kind of coming together and the merging with scenes that are constantly on the backdrop of our contemporary world. Another speaker, Tobias Rees, who's an American anthropologist, refers to the concept of nature as it emerges in the transition from the 16th to the 17th century as the out there, and with it, how it sort of transforms our understanding of being human. And finally, another one who I find also quite inspiring for this moment is Federico Campagna, an Italian philosopher whose work on reality says that it varies with each era, with each civilization, with each new world, and that in turn is sort of shapes what is possible to do, to think, to imagine. And he comes up with magic as an operating principle against our current crisis of reality and the imagination. We really hope that you stay tuned for the series.
It's for us also a way to address this very important notion of re-enchantment that has been informing the biennial's project. Enchantment comes etymologically from the idea of listening to voices and being enchanted or seduced, charmed by them. The bet of this biennial and all the artists, the 46 artists who are making it happen, is that we can now try to eventually listen to other voices than the ones that have been heard these past decades and centuries, and that might be a very important opportunity for us. This massive upheaval that we're going through, to let this other being speak. May they be like from the margins, may they be too silent, or may we be incapable of listening to them. And I hope that this 5 months of public program of talks and conversations will be a strong inspiration for all of us to put every certitude into perspectives and get inspiration for alternative ways of thinking, feeling, and caring about our world.
So upcoming next week, we have our first contribution from poet C.A. Conrad. So do join us. C.A. will be reading his poetry. He will be in conversations. There'll be an opportunity also to share your comments and thoughts, so which we very much welcome. So stay tuned.
Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, Sophia. Let's all start new weekly tradition to meet here every Thursday, and let's embrace the journey together and enjoy.